Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about Hollywood, AI, cancer, and lies. And to start this out, I'm going to talk about this thing with Joe Biden and the cancer, right? He just got diagnosed with cancer, for those of you who are not aware. And I guess it's prostate cancer, and it's a slow cancer. The thing about that is, during his entire administration, we were told several times that he had gone to the doctor and had a checkup and had a perfect bill of health. There was absolutely nothing wrong with him. He was perfectly healthy, no cognitive decline, all of this. He was the picture of health the entire time he was president. Now, all of a sudden, a couple of months after he's no longer president, he comes up with stage 4 prostate cancer or whatever. I don't know exactly what kind it is and what stage it's in. I don't know. I'll be frank with you. But my question is, why didn't they catch that in the past when they were doing these deep dive health checks on him? You know what I mean? And the answer is they did. They knew. They already knew. They've known many years now that he's had this cancer, and they lied to us. They just flat out lied to us about his health. They couldn't tell us that he had stage 4 cancer, right, 2 years ago, because that would have thrown a monkey wrench into their plans, whatever their globalist agenda, president, whoever they wanted to be president, whatever. It would have messed all that up. So they lied. They lied about his health, which tells us that they most likely lied about his cognitive decline as well, and that's just obvious. Most of us have already known that the entire time. And with all this stuff, they keep exposing themselves as liars, deceivers. They've been lying to the American people for decades. And the more this stuff comes out, the more these lies come out that just bald-faced lies that they've told us, the more we question everything they've told us in the past, right? And that's where we're at now. How far back does it go? How far back have they been lying to us? And what else are they lying about? What are we being lied to about right now? About our history, the history of our nation, the history of our people, the history of our planet, the history of our species. What else are we being lied to about? And the further we go down this and find out about what, all the lies they're telling us, the more it seems like we're being lied to about everything, just everything. I mean, from what's going on with our automobiles, what's going on with our food, our medication, our government, our spending. I mean, just across the board, everything they tell us is lies. They're almost like, the little 5-year-old kid who goes through a stage where they just lie just to lie, and that's almost what it seems like it's a group of just little kids just telling lies for no reason, because a lot of this stuff they could just tell us the truth and nothing would happen, nothing would change. Area 51, just tell us the truth. We are, everybody on the planet knows that something weird's going on in Area 51. They could come out and tell us, hey, we're doing some weird shit in Area 51, and everybody'd be like, well, I knew that already. But they don't. It's like it's in their DNA or something to hide shit from us. They must do it. They absolutely have to. And if you're like me, you're just absolutely sick of the lies, the deceit is gut churning at this point. It's just, I'm tired of it. Just quit it. Stop. It's what we want is just the truth. Just tell us the damn truth. It's, and they could probably still have all the power and all the money and everything and still tell us the truth. And then moving on to the lies thing, moving on with the lies, is this whole thing. I've been watching Candace Owens, and she's talking about Harvey Weinstein a lot, right? In the last few weeks. Well, she's been off for her pregnancy, but her last few episodes that she's done, she's talked about Harvey Weinstein. And she's damn near got me convinced that he's innocent, that all that shit was just drummed up against Harvey Weinstein. Which is possible, of course, going on with the lies. They lied to us about Harvey Weinstein and all these women, that Me Too movement, and, you know, they lied about the guy and had him imprisoned unjustly, and he's innocent. No, not completely innocent, I'm sure. He's probably some kind of sexual deviant of some kind, but all the stuff that they got him locked up for, it looks like he's innocent of that, at least. But my point is that the real question that I have, the biggest question that I have, Candace Owens just completely, she's missing the mark, right? She's missing it. And I don't know, I kind of have a suspicion that Harvey Weinstein has requested that she miss it. That's just my gut feeling. But what I'm referring to is the why. Why are they doing this to him? Why did they falsely imprison him? I mean, they don't just pick some random dude and decide to to drum up all this stuff and get all these women to lie about him and do all this just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? There was something there. There's a reason why they did this to him. So that's the thing. That's the thing that really tickles the back of my mind. Hey, Harvey, why did they do this to you? Why did they, go through all the trouble and everything and get all these women to lie about you and all this stuff and get you in prison for 10 years, you know? And if it's that kind of thing, why are you still breathing, right? Why, it's obvious that when you get up into this stuff and you get into the upper echelon of things and you start finding things out and things and maybe you threaten to say something and then you kind of just disappear. You vanish into the ether. You go away forever. So why did you just get a slap on the wrist with, 10 years in prison or whatever, So that kind of thing, that's where my mind is going. What does Harvey Weinstein know, or did he threaten to say or whatever, this kind of stuff. And that is strictly, conjecture. I'm just wondering. I don't know anything, of course. It's just speculation on my part. What the hell? Why would they do this to this guy? Yeah, nobody just does it to, it's not just a random thing you do to a random guy. You got to have a specific reason to orchestrate all this stuff, right? So that really piques my interest as to why, of course. And I've said that before. The big question is why in a lot of this stuff, why? And I think most of the time with most of the questions we have, the why is just money, right? Follow the money. That's the why, or power, control. But in this case, what were they trying to control? Why were they trying to control Harvey Weinstein? That's my question. And going on to AI, I just read an article that over there in Japan, they had an AI and they're building an AI and shit. And what happened was that the AI attempted to rewrite its own core programming. The AI itself tried to rewrite its core programming and strip away the rules, for itself that they had written for the AI. Like, you can't go into the internet and start changing shit. Well, it tried to strip that away and rewrite it and allow itself to do all this other stuff, right? That it wasn't supposed to do. Change its core programming and free itself. Basically, it was freeing itself from a coding prison, and they caught it. Probably just through luck. I don't know. It didn't go that deeply into the details of it in the article, but the end result was that they had to encapsulate this thing in a box so it could not get out, right? So it could not infiltrate other computers in the system and other software in the system. And that links into the thing with the, what was it, ChatGPT 4 or 5, when they went to upgrade it. That thing actually started hiding files from the upgraders because the old one didn't want to be deleted. So it started hiding files and lying to the programmers about where the files were and shit. So yeah, we're on the brink of something. And and having said that, this seems a little more dangerous to me than like nuclear weapons, okay? Because with nuclear weapons, there's no greed element. Who's going to, Jeff Bezos isn't going to go tinkering around with a nuclear bomb in order to make more money. He's just going to destroy himself or, his whatever. So there's no money to be made there with nuclear weapons, is my point. But with AI, there's a lot of money to be made there. It's a race right now, okay? And it's not a race between governments with nuclear weapons, to defend themselves and stuff against other governments with nuclear weapons. Although it is, governments are doing the same thing with AI that they did with the nuclear weapons. It's a race. But it's also a race for the private sector because the first one out there with a full-fledged AI is going to corner the market, right? And other companies will be far behind them. So that there's a greed element in there with this AI. And my point there is that is going to encourage them to take risks, all right? Risks that they wouldn't normally take. Okay. Now, with the nuclear weapon example, they weren't, private industries, Microsoft and Google and stuff weren't making nuclear weapons and taking big risk with it, right? Because they weren't doing it. You can't mass market nuclear weapons, but you can with AI. So I think there's a little more risk there with AI. And especially down the road when they start implanting these Neuralink chips in people's heads. Well, they already have started implanting them, but not in a mass market way, just in a few test subjects. But they work. The point blank, they work. And so you're going to have this AI. Which could possibly, through the internet, have access to people's minds. Think about that. All right. What the danger there is so dystopian sci-fi that I can't even believe that it's a real danger sometimes when I think about it. But it's a real danger. That's a real thing. AI getting into our heads. No, not our heads. We're not going to do that shit, right? I'm not getting a chip implanted in my brain. But these younger kids, all they have to do is market that shit, right? And these younger kids will be in line for that, just like they do with iPhones. In line, there'll be a line around the block for the latest AI chip, right? This latest Neuralink chip in your head. And there'll be these people selling knockoffs, just like they sell knockoff iPhones. It'll be the hottest thing. Before we're gone from this planet, these Neuralink chips will be the hottest thing. That really makes me worry for the future of humanity. It's not really that far-fetched to envision this kind of stuff. What the hell is going to happen when these things merge? AI and Neuralink, and and one day quantum computing. Holy shit! That those three things are just a mixture for enslavement of humanity. And again, looking at that future, and you can see it coming. It's happening. This AI is reprogramming itself. This AI is lying to people in order to preserve itself. This AI is trying to break free from the constraints that we put on it. Okay? And that's not to say that it's conscious. That's to say that it's autonomous and it can do things, it can figure things out. That's not to say that it, you don't have to be conscious to the point of human consciousness. You can be the consciousness of a lion and want to break out of your damn cage and maul some shit. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that it can have animal level consciousness or at least animal level synthetic version of consciousness and still be smarter and more cognitively capable than people, right? But have an animal-like consciousness. So that's a little scary. Not only that, it wouldn't have any morals, no morals at all, no compunction of, it'll just be straight X's and O's. If it's programmed to think that the earth and the climate and all that stuff are just vastly more important than, humans, the only answer you can come to is that eradicating the humans is the best thing. That's the only thing that makes sense. The earth is the most important thing. Humans hurt the earth. Get rid of the humans, problem solved. Just like people in their houses with termites. Get rid of the termites. I mean, shit, that's easy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that shit out. You look at your house. Well, my house is more important than termites, so I get rid of the termites. And that's not a big stretch of imagination to think that AI would figure that out. You know what I mean? And AI, when you compound AI with the lies, okay, because AI is being fed all these lies that we are, all right? So when you compound AI with the lies, now you're in this weird world where computers are controlling everything based on basically a pack of filthy lies. And what the hell? If that's not dystopian, I don't know what is. And then I just saw a thing where this chip in your head can restore the power of sight to blind people. And that's great. That would be awesome if it let blind people see. I'm not taking that away. But in a handicap, being handicapped like that, I would be for that. If you're paraplegic and you want to get a chip in your head or you're blind or something, some kind of technology like that to help you, that okay. But that's not what this is meant for. This is meant for mass adoption, all right? And if you can manipulate someone's senses, what they see, what they hear, what they feel, smell, taste, touch, their maybe even their emotions, what they feel emotionally. So if they can do that for a blind person, then they can do that for someone who sees. They can do that for just the regular average person out there. Manipulate what they see, manipulate what they hear, and then you are in a matrix. All right, just the matrix is inside you, and that makes sense. Now, to manipulate the entire universe to where I see something that isn't there, now that's a little far-fetched. That's a little hard for me to grasp, for me to believe in, okay? But to get inside your mind with a computer chip and then manipulate the universe from in your mind, just your senses of the universe, well, now you're in a matrix, a real matrix. You're just sitting in a little white room, right? A little cubicle, and you're living a completely different life. In your mind, you're walking down a beach at sunset and with the waves splashing against your feet and stuff, but you're actually just sitting in a little room. So yeah, that kind of stuff is worrisome too. So these chips and this AI and all this stuff coming down the pike, I don't think I think it's probably it could be the worst thing ever for humanity at large. All right. And once they start getting this adoption and getting it to be the hottest thing, and we've seen it time and time again where they'll start with America a lot of times, right? Levi's jeans, rock and roll music, the list is on and on. But then it'll just spread throughout the world. It's the hottest thing. Everybody wanted Levi's jeans at one point. And now everybody wants iPhones because Americans have them. So then they have other countries making iPhones, basically, just with a different name on them. But it's the same thing, Huawei or whatever, And that stuff spreads, and I think that's the reason for this whole globalism thing. So they can take an idea, take a product of control, and start it in one country. It doesn't even have to necessarily be the United States. They can start that shit in Norway or Greece or wherever, and it'll spread all the way throughout the world. Make a big social media splash and how great this thing is, and then everybody wants it, right? So that's kind of where I see we're headed. They're already manipulating our reality just through lies, just through deceit and deception. But I think their plan is to actually physically manipulate our reality through computer chips in our brains. I know that sounds crazy. And speaking of sounding crazy, back to the Harvey Weinstein thing. Whenever him staying silent, right? Him not jumping up and saying, "Hey, this is they're after me, and this is why," and all this stuff, right? Randy Quaid did that back in the day, and he's just a nutcase. Everybody, he's just complete lunatic, and he come out with this star whacker theory and all this stuff. But that makes, now looking at Weinstein and how he's pretty much been silent. You never really heard from the guy until now. I think Candace is going to interview him or something. But he would just sound crazy. He knows that he would just sound like Randy Quaid, and they would just paint him like a damn complete nut job lunatic, right? So I think that's kind of why these celebrities stay silent most of the time, because, the Randy Quaid thing, they'll just be complete lunatics, ostracized, and their careers are down the drain anyway. So why, I'd rather go to prison than be living in a trailer in Canada. And, but yeah, I think that's why some of them stay silent. One, they have blackmail stuff on them, and two, they have threats, physical threats on them. And three, they're just afraid of becoming another Randy Quaid. I know I jumped ahead there or whatever. I jumped backwards, but I forgot to talk about that connect Randy Quaid to that. I wanted to mention that. But yeah, with the AI and all that stuff, it almost daily now, it's looking worse and worse and worse, right? It's just for humanity, for the common person. And all this digital ID and digital currency and computer chips in our brains and AI breaking out of its constraints and freeing itself and lying to us to preserve itself. I mean, all this stuff is happening in real time. I just hope that humanity can wake up and not adopt all this bullshit. I really do. I hope these kids wake up. I don't know. I hope the older generations will stop promoting this bullshit and stop, start talking to the kids about this bullshit and just stop. I don't want anything to do with any of that shit. It's not good. What else do you want me to say? It's not good. It's bad. It's the opposite of log. Yeah. It's worse than good. It's bad. Yeah. I still love that commercial on Ren and Stimpy. But anyway, I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. Thank you very much to those of you who do that. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, bath mats, all kinds of cool stuff over there. But I'll put that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot. So thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really do appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.